Good morning all of you. Welcome to Poets and Pancakes Part 2. Okay, Part 1 we had. Today we do Part 2. So we have seen that how efficient Shubhu was, and he was compared to the Devdasis of the 20th century. And he's told that he was an amazing actor, and but still at the same time he was never aspired to the lead roles, but whatever subsidiary roles he played in any of the films, he performed better than the supposed main plays. So he's saying he had struggled, he had tried to get the leading role, but never what he given, but whatever subsidiary roles he played, he was really he played so efficiently the role that he was considered better than the main players. He had a genuine love for anyone he came across, and his house was a permanent residence for dozens of years. He was very close, he was very friendly sort of a character, and dozens of people had permanent residence over there. His friends and relatives came to his places and they were acquainted there. At the same time, anything if it is told to be against Shubhu's nature, to be even conscious that he was feeding and supporting so many of them. So he was very supportive nature, very helpful nature sort of a person. At the same time, he was very charitable and an improvident man, and still so considerate he was, but at the same still he had so many enemies. And the writer is saying that even though such a good person he was, what is the reason for having so many enemies? So the writer himself, narrator himself is confused. So he is saying that is it because he was very close to the boss, that is why people were his enemies, or was it because he was the general demeanor and that he resembled like a sycophant, that is why so many enemies were there? Or is it because he was always ready to say good things about everything? He never criticized anyone, he never talked against anyone. Is it the reason that so many were there who were his enemies? You saw Shubhu always with the boss, but in the attendance role, he was grouped under a department called the story department, comprising a lawyer and an assembly of writers and poets. So many departments are there in the studio, and even if we find that Shubhu was always moving around with the boss, but still his role or his name was there, his attendance was always in the role, and that department is known as the story department, where there was a lawyer and few writers and poets. The lawyer officially, they were legal advisor, that is what is the task of the lawyer, but whenever anyone referred to them, of course their character is opposite to that. They were an extremely talented actress who was an extremely temperamental, once blew over on the sets. Ashok Mitran is giving a reference that it once happened that in a stage, one very talented actress, what happened is she got wild and she blew over the sets, means she started shouting or she became frustrated in the set, and then everyone was very stunned, surprised, became speechless. But what did this lawyer do? The lawyer immediately went and switched on the recording, and after some time when no one came to know, then after some time what happens that this actress also did not come to know, and after everything went calm and quiet, what did this lawyer do? He went and again switched on the recording equipment, and as this lady, the actress, heard this in her own voice, she was struck dumb, means she became speechless. And she was a very innocent girl. She had come from the countryside, so she was not knowing or did not have any experience that these all things also happen in the stage, and she was not knowing about the importance of sophistication, things and so on. She never quite recovered from the terror she felt that day, and that since that day she was so terrified that anything can happen. She became so cautious that that first day fear was never away from her. That was the end of the brief and brilliant acting career. The legal advisor, who was also a member of the story department, had unwittingly brought about that sad end. While every other member of the department wore a kind of uniform, khadi dhoti, a slightly oversized, clumsily tailored white khadi shirt, the legal advisor wore pants and a tie, and sometimes a coat that looked like a coat of a maid. So he's saying that in this department, in the story department, people or in the actors and this team or other people, they wore on khadi uniform, that shirt and pant and so on. But this lawyer, what he put on? He would put on a pant and a coat and so on, and his look would look like a maid. Often he looked alone. This lawyer often was alone. He would be helpless and a man of a cold logic and a crowd of dreamers. A neutral man in an assembly of Gandhis and Khadis. So he would be, this man would be dressed, the lawyer would be dressed in a different manner, and when a crowd is there between these Khadiites and Gandhiites, this lawyer would seem to be different, and he would seem he is all alone or aloof. The boss, he was allowed to produce the film, and though a lot of raw stock and pancake were used on it, not much came of the film. We say in one of the film what happened, that so many seemed to be close to the boss, and so many were allowed to produce the films and so on, and irrespective of applying so much of paint and makeup and so on, the film did not reach to that success. One day it happened that the boss came down, who is this Vasan, came down the story department, and this was perhaps the only instance in human history where a lawyer lost his job because the poets were asked to go home. So he is saying that it happened one day that the boss came to the story department, and he was telling his story, he came to the department, and in human history never has it happened that because story was not there, film went to a flop, the poet's job was gone, and at the same time the lawyer also to go home. Gemini Studio was the favorite haunt of poets like S.D.S. Yogiyar, Sanghu Subramaniam, Krishna Sastri, Harindranath Chattopadhyay. These were all great poets who were part of the Gemini Studio and who were favorite in the Gemini Studio also. But when this mess supplied, and then good coffee was that time was provided to the people most of the night when they worked and so on. But in those days when Congress rule were there was prohibition for this serving of coffee and so on. But was rather satisfying entertainment. Meeting over a cup of coffee was rather satisfying entertainment. Okay, to say that there were the days when Congress rule was meant prohibition. Then meeting is over, there was this cup coffee when was provided during some meeting and things. It was really satisfying, and people over there were entertained. Barring the office boys and a couple of clerks, everybody else at the studio radiated leisure as prerequisite for poetry. Saying that other than the office boy and the clerk, everyone else in the studio did have the leisure things, and when the poetry was told. Most of them were there, they worshipped Gandhiji, they wore khadi, but apart from that, they hardly did appreciate the political thought of any kind. They were all averse to the term of communism. They were not interested or never discussed about communism. And what were their thoughts? They said that communist was a godless man. And this was the belief of these people, even though they put on khadis and they worshipped Gandhiji. They said that a communist was a godless man. He had no filial or any love for anyone. He had no compunction about killing his own parents. Means he's saying that he would not step back to kill the parents or the children. He was always out to cause and spread this sort of communists. They were never God-loving people, but they would do what? They would create unrest everywhere and spread violence even among the innocent and ignorant people. Such ideas, notions means ideas, these prevailed everywhere in South India, and naturally these ideas floated among the khadi-clad poets also of the Gemini Studio. So in those days in Madras, this thought was there that the task of these communists is to spread violence and create unrest and so on. And the same idea was there with, or this belief was there with the khadi-cladded poets and which were there in the Gemini studio. When Frank Buchmann's moral rearmament army and 200 strong visited Madras sometime in 1952, they could not have found a warmer host in India than the Gemini studio. What the another reference is giving that it happened once that a French Buchmann's moral rearmament army, he came there, they at that time when they visited Madras in the year 1952, that other than in India, in the Gemini studio, they were given a warm welcome. They were not good on trapeze and their acquaintance with animals was only at the dinner table. But still, these two plays in most professional, the plays what they presented were there in the professional manner. Jonathan Valley and the Forgotten Factor ran several shows in Madras. So whosoever or howsoever were there, but in their professional level, they were really perfect. And in these two plays, what is Jonathan Valley and Forgotten Factor, the roles they played really were appreciable. And it is told the shows they had in Madras, they were really along with the other citizens. Several shows were there. The Gemini family of 600 saw the plays. The Gemini family member in the Gemini studio also liked these shows, that is the Jonathan Valley and the Forgotten Factors, and time and again they were played and seen by the members of the Gemini studio. And after that, the message of the play was that very simple and very homely, and that is why people liked it. But the sets and costumes were first rate. Madras and Tamil drama community were very impressed, and for some years almost all the Tamil plays were all taking the same scene or having the same scene of sunrise and sunset in the manner or in the way the Jonathan Valley had showed there in their films. And with a bare stage, a white background curtain and a tune played on the flute. This was the same style which was followed by the players or by the actors in Jonathan Valley, the sunrise scene, the blank curtain, the tune, that is the beginning. So same thing or same beginning was followed by in many of the films in Gemini studio. It was some years later that I learned that MRA was a kind of counter movement to international communism, and big bosses of Madras like Mr. Vasan simply played into their hands. So slowly and gradually, as Ashok Mitran became aware of the things which is going on in the film world, he came to know that all these things, it was just the Mr. Vasan, whatever he is doing, or the international communism and the big bosses of Madras like Mr. Vasan, they were just players in the hands of these people. I am not sure, however, that this was indeed the case for the unchangeable aspect of the big bosses, and their enterprises remained the same. MRA or no MRA. He said, I am not sure, Ashok Mitran says, but he feels that this could be one of the reasons that the aspect of these big bosses did not ever change and it remained the same. International communism and no international communism. This is how the things goes on. The staff of Gemini Studio has a nice time hosting 200 people of all hues and sizes of at least 20 nationalities. In Gemini Studio, almost there we are told earlier that national integration more than All India Radio was seen in or talked about or practiced in Gemini Studio, and hundreds of peoples of different colors and sizes were seen there. And such a change and whenever the crowd players were there, they were or a crowd scene was there, the thick layer of makeup by the office boy was very famous, which was applied to this crowd whenever any crowd scene was there. A few months later, telephone lines of big bosses of Madras was, so we say, after few months, again in the Gemini Studio, they could hear the telephone lines from the big bosses of Madras ringing, and a whole shooting stage to welcome another visitor. As after a long time, the people were seen in the Gemini studio, phones were heard ringing, and what happened? The whole shooting stage was anxiously waiting for a person to welcome. No one knew who he was, but few doubt was there, or something was known about, and that was the new visitor is a poet from England. The only poet from England, and the simple Gemini staff knew, and no one knew him, because in the Gemini studio people were aware of Wordsworth, Tennyson, then some literate ones were aware of Keats, Shelley, Byron, few were aware of Eliot's also, but no one was knowing who this new visitor was, or who was this new poet. But a few said he was not a poet, but he was an editor, and that is why the boss was giving a big welcome or reception to him. Vasan, the producer whom we said over here, he said that Vasan was also the editor of the popular Tamil weekly Ananda Viketan. So who was this visitor? He was the editor as well as a poet, and the name of the weekly was Ananda Viketan. He wasn't the editor of any of the known names of the British publication. He was an editor, but not of any famous British publications which was famous in those days in Madras, like the Hindu and so on. But the Sunrise and was that the poet was the editor of a daily, that was confirmed. But not from the Manchester Guardian or London Times. These were the famous magazines or weekly in those periods. At last, around 4 in the afternoon, the poet, who anxiously everyone was waiting for, he came. He was a tall man, English look he had, very serious sort of a person, but very unknown to all of them present in the Gemini studio. And when this poet or the new visitor came, the boss, he was seated around so many, almost a dozen pedestal fans on the shooting stage, and he gave a long welcome speech to the poet or the new visitor. At the same time, the speech was all in the most general, whatever normally the speech is given, general speech was there, but in between the boss, that is Mr. Vasan, made use of, he said, papered with words. Papered means, or oftenly he used words like freedom, democracy and so on in his speech. And after his speech got over, then the poet started speaking. But when the poet started speaking, everyone present over there were dazed and silent. The audience did not utter a word. Everyone was surprised. Maybe reason is that whatever the poet was talking, or the accent in which the poet or the new visitor was talking, was hardly understood by anyone. And after an hour, everything got over, and the poet also dispersed, and other audience and people dispersed. But the people who were there, they were in utter bafflement, means they were very confused that who is he and what did he say. And after that, what is an English poet doing in a film movie? They were what are we doing? So they were all confused. They started talking among each other that he is an English poet, and what is his requirement in a Tamil movie and so on. That way people started discussing. And at the same time, the poet looked pretty baffled. Poet was also baffled, means confused, because he too must have felt the sheer incongruity of his talk. Because when he was, as people were confused, the poet also was confused, because while he was giving the speech, he also found the people in the similar manner confused. So his visitor, some mystery he felt was there in the thing, but then his mystery was not explained. The great prose writers of the world may not admit it, but my conviction grows stronger day after day that prose writing is not and cannot be the true pursuit of a genius. So the narrator is saying so many other prose writers would be there, and whatever their problems or secret, they would not admit. But the narrator says that he knows that it cannot be and it is not the prose writing is not the pursuit or the identity of a good genius. Apart from that, patience, persistent, persevering, drudge, then all with a heart so shaken that nothing can break it. Rejection slips don't mean a sting to him. He at once sets about making a fresh copy of the long prose piece and sends it on to another editor, enclosing postage or the return of the manuscript. He is saying that patience, perseverance, persisting thing, all these things would be are there, and he would, the true writer or whosoever who is not bothered about this, he would be bothered, he would write and he would be busy and in search of an editor, and he would get a fresh copy, put the sets, and then send the manuscripts to the editor. It was for such people that the Hindu had published a tiny announcement. And for these sort of people, the Hindu, that is the publication, he says that a short story contest they have organized, and a British periodical, the name is the Encounter. For these great genius people, this sort, the Hindu, that is, or the British periodical, that is the Encounter, it arranges a short story for contest. And the Encounter wasn't a known commodity among the Gemini literary, and this Encounter, that is the British periodical, was the people in Gemini studio were not aware of it. And Ashok Mitran wanted to get an idea of that, and that is why in those days there was in the British Council library entrance and things were not restricted, no signboards were there, no notices were there that no one can enter. Everyone had the freedom. So Ashok Mitran, the narrator, went there, and he found what in the so many copies of this Encounter were lying, and fresh copies were also there, and some seemed that the readers must have not even touched them. So whenever this when this writer, that is narrator Ashok Mitran, read one of the copies, he saw the editor's name, and what did he found? That the name was, he was the same writer or the poet who had come to the studio, and seeing this his heart shrunk, and he felt that he now the long lost brother he has found again. And so he sealed the envelope and wrote out saw the address, and he was happy that the long lost brothers of the Indian films have now. He started with, out of enthusiasm, Ashok Mitran started singing a song, and he imagined that the same song would the new visitor, that is the poet, and who is he? Stephen Spender, would also be singing. Years later, when he went out of the Gemini studio, he did not have much money, and then he found that on the footpath of Mount Road in Madras, some copies were sold, and at very minimum cost. And what did he see? Almost 50 paisa. When he went there, he said that why was it sold at so less price? Because it was on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Russian Revolution. It was sold for so less price or so less amount for the students of this thing, for the students edition. The narrator took one of it to give the 50 paisa, and then the God that failed, that is the copy he took it. 6 eminent men of letters in 6 separate essays described their journey in that book into communism, and at the same time their disillusioned return, means they never thought of that sort of return also. This was discussed in this, the God that failed, in that edition or in that book. And who were these 6 men of letters? They were Andrew Guide, Richard Wright, Inganzio, Ceylon Arthur Collister, Louis Fisher, and Stephen Spender. And all these writers were, the 6 were there who wrote this book, and which was sold at a very low cost. Then suddenly the book assumed tremendous significance. Some similarity he saw, and the book was very significant. Stephen Spender, the poet who had visited Gemini studio, his name was there. And all of a sudden, narrator felt that a dark chamber from his mind was illuminated, and he was very happy. The reaction to Stephen Spender as Gemini studio was now no longer a mystery. The writer could make out that who was this writer, why he had, apart from a poet, why he had come to the Gemini studio and left his poetry. So all the things was very clear. And the last line, the boss of the Gemini studio may not have much to do with Spender's poetry. Now poetry, because in a studio he was to be required not as a poet, so he has gone there. And earlier people were confused what is the requirement for a poet, but here that is, but not with God that fame. So it's saying that Gemini studio we have nothing to do whether Spender is a poet and so on. And that is how the whole story, the name what was given, brand name, pancakes, comes to a conclusion. Thank you.